Rebuilding a hypercar isn't something you measure in days or even weeks. It's something that stretches time itself, turning every hour into a calculated risk where one wrong move can undo months of progress. These machines aren't like ordinary cars that can be taken to a local shop and repaired with standard tools and predictable outcomes. They are precision-built systems worth millions, engineered with such tight tolerances that even the smallest misalignment, a single incorrect torque value, or a missed calibration can cascade into catastrophic failure. Every bolt matters, every sensor has a purpose, and every connection is part of a larger, fragile ecosystem that demands absolute perfection. That's what makes the question so compelling. How long does it really take to rebuild something like this? And more importantly, why does it take that long? Because in this world, time isn't just a measure of effort. It's a reflection of complexity, pressure, and the constant balancing act between progress and potential disaster. To understand this, you have to look at two very different but equally intense approaches through the work of Armstrong and Tavarish, both of whom have built reputations on taking on projects most professionals wouldn't even consider attempting. Their work isn't just about fixing cars, it's about confronting the limits of engineering itself, where every stage of a rebuild introduces new variables, new uncertainties, and new opportunities for failure. What separates them isn't just the cars they work on, but the nature of the challenges they face and the way those challenges stretch the timeline of a project far beyond what most people expect. In Matt Armstrong's case, the rebuild process becomes a physical battle against precision. Take his work on a Bugatti Chiron that had been split into two sections, something that even Bugatti itself suggested was nearly impossible to restore outside of its own facilities. This wasn't just a matter of reattaching parts. It required aligning carbon fiber structures, recalibrating sensors, and ensuring that every structural and mechanical element matched factory tolerances down to the smallest fraction. A misaligned engine mount could destroy the W16 engine under load. A single damaged or improperly installed component could compromise the entire system. Even something as seemingly insignificant as a titanium bolt carried enormous weight, because at this level, there is no such thing as a minor detail. Every step forward had to be deliberate, measured, and exact, turning what might look like steady progress into a slow, high-stakes operation where each decision could either advance the project or bring it to a halt. What makes this process even more intense is the unpredictability. Problems don't always announce themselves clearly. A snapped bolt embedded in carbon fiber, a misaligned connection, or a hidden structural issue can suddenly appear and demand immediate attention. And solving these problems isn't as simple as replacing a part. It often involves creating solutions that don't exist in manuals, improvising within strict engineering limits, and maintaining composure under pressure. That's why timelines stretch. It's not inefficiency, it's the cost of doing things correctly when the margin for error is almost non-existent. On the other side, Tavarish operates in a completely different but equally challenging environment, one where the obstacles aren't always visible. His rebuild of a flood-damaged McLaren P1 highlights a different dimension of complexity, one rooted not just in hardware, but in software. Modern hypercars are as much digital systems as they are mechanical ones, and that creates a new layer of difficulty that can't be solved with tools alone. Even after repairing physical damage, the car itself may remain non-functional due to locked systems, encrypted software, and manufacturer-controlled access. Without the correct authorization, the vehicle might refuse to start, charge, or even communicate with diagnostic tools. It becomes a machine that is physically present but functionally inaccessible. This creates a different kind of timeline, one dictated not by physical labor, but by problem-solving at a systems level. Accessing or bypassing these digital barriers requires knowledge, experimentation, and often collaboration with specialists who understand the underlying architecture of the vehicle. It's a process filled with uncertainty, where progress can stall not because of mechanical limitations, but because of invisible restrictions embedded within the car itself. And unlike physical repairs, which at least provide visible signs of progress, software challenges can leave a project feeling stuck, even when significant work has already been done. What makes both of these approaches so compelling is how they reveal the true nature of time in hypercar rebuilds. It's not linear. It doesn't follow a predictable path. Instead, it expands and contracts based on the challenges encountered along the way. A single breakthrough can accelerate progress dramatically, while a single setback can delay everything for weeks. And because these projects are so complex, those moments happen constantly, creating a rhythm that is both frustrating and addictive to watch. The audience reaction reflects this perfectly. Viewers don't just watch these builds, they become invested in them. They follow every update, every delay, every small victory, and every unexpected obstacle. The comments range from humor to frustration to admiration, capturing the emotional roller coaster that comes with watching something so intricate unfold over time. Jokes about waiting years for completion, observations about the sheer scale of the work, and even technical suggestions from knowledgeable fans all contribute to a community that understands, at least in part, why these projects take so long. It's not impatience, it's engagement. People recognize that what they're seeing isn't ordinary, and that recognition changes how they perceive time itself. And that brings us back to the central question: who takes longer? The reality is that it's not a question with a simple answer, because longer depends on what kind of challenge you're measuring. If you're looking at physical precision, the kind that demands flawless alignment and exact tolerances, then projects like Matt Armstrong's push time to its limits through sheer technical difficulty. If you're looking at digital complexity, where access and functionality depend on navigating systems designed to restrict control, then Tavarish's work introduces delays that can't be solved with mechanical skill alone. Both paths are equally demanding, just in different ways. What they ultimately prove is that rebuilding a hypercar isn't just about skill, it's about endurance. It's about the ability to stay focused through long periods of uncertainty, to adapt when plans fail, and to continue moving forward even when progress feels slow. It requires creativity to solve problems that don't have clear solutions, patience to handle tasks that can't be rushed, and resilience to recover from setbacks that would stop most people completely. And perhaps most importantly, it requires a willingness to accept that time is not something you control in this process. It's something you negotiate with, constantly adjusting your expectations as the project evolves. So when people ask how long it takes to rebuild a hypercar, they're often looking for a number, a clear and simple answer. But the truth is far more complex. It takes as long as it needs to take. It takes as long as it takes to solve every problem, to align every component, to unlock every system, and to bring something incredibly complicated back to life without compromising what makes it work. And in that sense, the real story isn't about the duration. It's about what happens within that time. When examining the work of Matt Armstrong, what immediately becomes clear is that his approach is defined by physical precision at an almost microscopic level. His rebuild of the Bugatti Chiron serves as one of the most extreme examples of mechanical reconstruction ever documented publicly, not simply because of the car's value, but because of the conditions under which the rebuild takes place. A vehicle that had been split into two sections is not merely damaged. It represents a complete breakdown of structural integrity, requiring reconstruction that must restore not only form, but exact engineering tolerances. In this environment, every millimeter matters. Aligning carbon fiber tubs is not comparable to straightening a bent chassis in a conventional car. It demands a level of accuracy where even the slightest misalignment can introduce stress points that compromise the entire structure under load. The process becomes less like traditional repair work and more like assembling a high-stakes experiment where failure is both immediate and irreversible. This intensity extends into every subsystem of the car. The W16 engine, a masterpiece of engineering in its own right, cannot tolerate even minor inconsistencies. Mounting it incorrectly, or allowing a sensor to sit out of alignment by a fraction, can result in catastrophic failure under boost conditions. What appears on the surface as routine installation is, in reality, a sequence of highly controlled operations where each step must be verified, measured, and often repeated. Even seemingly insignificant components, such as a single titanium bolt, carry disproportionate importance. When one snaps inside a carbon fiber structure, the challenge is not simply extraction, but doing so without compromising the surrounding material, which itself cannot be easily repaired or replaced. These moments define the true timeline of a rebuild. Progress is not halted by lack of effort, but by the necessity of perfection, where moving forward too quickly can undo weeks of meticulous work in an instant. Yet the mechanical challenges, as demanding as they are, exist within a framework that is at least visible. You can see misalignment, measure tolerances, and physically interact with the components. This is where the contrast with Tavarish becomes particularly striking, because his projects introduce a different dimension of difficulty, one that is far less tangible but equally, if not more, restrictive. His work on the McLaren P1, especially one compromised by flooding, reveals how modern hypercars are no longer defined solely by their mechanical complexity, but by the digital ecosystems that control them. Restoring a flooded hypercar is not just about drying components or replacing damaged parts. It involves navigating a network of encrypted systems, proprietary software, and manufacturer-imposed limitations that can render a fully rebuilt car completely inoperable. In this context, progress is no longer determined by physical capability alone. Even after rebuilding the structural and mechanical elements of the car, the inability to access or activate critical systems can bring the entire project to a standstill. The hybrid powertrain of the P1, for example, depends on software authorization for basic functionality. Without the correct codes, the car cannot start, cannot charge, and cannot perform the very functions it was designed for. This transforms the rebuild process into something far more complex than traditional engineering. It becomes a negotiation with systems that are deliberately designed to resist external intervention, creating a scenario where the builder is not just solving technical problems, but also overcoming institutional barriers. This distinction between mechanical and digital challenges highlights why comparing timelines between builders like Armstrong and Tavarish is inherently complicated. Armstrong's delays often stem from the need for absolute precision in physical reconstruction, where each step must meet exacting standards before the next can begin. Tavarish, on the other hand, may complete significant portions of a build only to encounter delays that have nothing to do with physical progress and everything to do with software access or system integration. In both cases, time is consumed not by inefficiency, but by the nature of the obstacles themselves, which operate on entirely different principles. The role of audience perception adds another layer to this dynamic. Viewers often interpret gaps in uploads or extended project timelines as a lack of progress, but this perspective fails to account for the invisible work that defines these builds. Online communities following these projects frequently express both frustration and fascination, reflecting a growing awareness of how complex these undertakings truly are. Comments ranging from humorous exaggerations about waiting decades for completion to detailed technical suggestions illustrate how deeply invested audiences become in the process. This engagement is not just about entertainment. It mirrors the broader reality that hypercar rebuilding is as much about problem-solving and persistence as it is about technical skill. What makes these projects particularly compelling is the way they redefine the concept of completion. In a conventional sense, finishing a car means restoring it to working condition. In the world of hypercars, however, completion often involves pushing beyond factory specifications, reimagining what the car can become. This introduces additional layers of complexity, as modifications must integrate seamlessly with systems that were never designed to accommodate them. The pursuit of performance, innovation, or uniqueness extends the timeline further, transforming the rebuild from a restoration into a form of engineering exploration. At its core, the question of how long it takes to rebuild a hypercar cannot be answered with a simple metric. Time, in this context, is a reflection of the challenges encountered rather than a measure of effort alone. Armstrong's work demonstrates how physical precision can stretch timelines indefinitely, as each component demands flawless execution. Tavarish's projects reveal how digital constraints can halt progress entirely, regardless of how much mechanical work has been completed. Both approaches underscore the same fundamental truth. Rebuilding a hypercar is not a linear process, but a series of interconnected challenges, each with its own pace and unpredictability. This is why the comparison between builders ultimately becomes less about who finishes faster and more about how each navigates their respective obstacles, Armstrong operates in a world where the limits are defined by materials, tools, and human precision, while Tavarish works within a system where the limits are imposed by software, access, and control. Both require a level of persistence that goes beyond conventional expectations, as well as a willingness to confront problems that often have no clear solutions. In the end, the true significance of these rebuilds lies not in their duration but in what they represent. They challenge the assumption that even the most complex machines are beyond recovery, demonstrating that with enough skill, determination, and creativity, it is possible to bring seemingly irreparable systems back to life. At the same time, they expose the evolving nature of automotive engineering, where the boundaries between mechanical and digital are becoming increasingly blurred. As hypercars continue to advance, the challenges associated with rebuilding them will only become more intricate, further redefining what it means to restore, modify, and ultimately master these extraordinary machines.